As humanity escapes from the dying Earth, they seek refuge in the vastness of space, hoping to find a new home among the stars. Finally, after many long years, they stumble upon a paradise, Avalon, where they hope to advance as superior species by making galactic alliance. But their joyous life in space is short-lived as they soon find themselves facing an unexpected and formidable foe. From out of nowhere comes the Hideaus, mysterious and absurd creatures that threaten mankind's survival in space. In order to protect their newfound home and ensure the continuation of their kind, humanity is forced to fight Hideaus' relentless attacks by unleashing an arsenal of weapons, including the legendary machine caliber, chamber, and a legion of heroes. As the battle rages on, the fearless second lieutenant soldier, Leto of Kugel's squad, charges into the fray to attack the Hideaus' nest and vanquish the extraterrestrial threat once and for all. Despite the valiant effort put forth by the human soldiers, the Hideaus stands resolute, impervious to their attacks. Faced with no other option, the humans are forced to retreat to safety. Kugel, the squad leader, wastes no time in giving orders for his soldiers to evacuate the area, but as Leto makes his escape, the Hideaus launches a sudden attack, causing him to become separated from his squad. Helpless, Leto plummets into the black zone of space and gets unconscious. As soon as he opens his eyes, Leto realizes he has been hibernating for 6 months. But then, his AI companion Chamber shows him images of strange people speaking a different language, desperately trying to open Chamber. Leto decides to stay inside the chamber until everyone leaves and then steps out to explore his surroundings. When everyone departs away, Leto comes out and explores, but his inspection is interrupted by the head of the repair team, Pinion, and a courier girl named Amy. Leto hides in a desperate attempt to avoid detection, but Pinion suspects someone is there and starts searching for him. With no other options, Leto emerges from his hiding place and takes Amy hostage to escape. But his plan quickly falls apart as he reaches a dead end on a strange giant ship, surrounded by the very people he had hoped to avoid. Feeling trapped and helpless, Leto turns to Chamber for help, which by analyzing the surroundings informs Leto that they are on planet Earth. This realization of being on a planet he never thought existed anymore astounds and perplexes him. In order to converse with Leto, the fleet commander's aide, Ridget, approaches him and demands his purpose of visiting them. Leto yearns to establish a friendly dialogue with her, but his space status presents a language barrier. Thankfully, Chamber's translation skills come in handy, enabling Leto to communicate with the crew. However, the crew is taken aback upon realizing that Chamber is an unmanned machine. After conversing with Leto, Ridget is unsure how to proceed with his presence on the ship and convenes with the other crew members to weigh their opinions. Meanwhile, Amy, one of the fleet's crew members, pays a visit to her bedridden younger brother, Bebel. To lift his spirits, she brings him a small ship's wheel to complete his model ship. Amy later approaches Leto on Ridget's pledge, carrying fish as a gesture of friendship. After revealing the ship's name as Gargantia, she explains Earth's history, informing Leto that it was once frozen over and some humans chose to remain on the planet. Eventually, the ice melted and Earth became a gigantic ocean. Many people formed fleets and retrieved deep-rooted technology from the ocean's depths to survive. As Fleet Commander Fairlock seeks advanced technology, Ridget dispatches Bellows, the leader of the excavation team, to the point where Chamber and Leto were found. However, Bellows' ship falls under attack by pirates, and in desperation, Amy implores Leto to help them. Hoping to earn the crew's trust, Leto readily agrees and boards Chamber using its immense power to decimate the pirates without causing any harm to Bellows' ship and crew. The crew is left in awe, unable to comprehend the scale of destruction wrought by Chamber. Amy's fists are clenched tightly as she looks at Leto with anger and disappointment, as she can't believe he just killed the pirates and their leaders without considering the consequences. After Leto's cruel attack, the leaders of Gargantia discuss what actions the pirates might take in retaliation. The tension is palpable as everyone braces for the worst. Little do they know, a survivor from Leto's attack is making his way to the pirate leader Luckage. The news of the attack infuriates her, and she orders her fleet to launch a full-scale assault on Gargantia. The Gargantia crew is caught off guard as they see the massive fleet of pirate ships approaching their location. Bellows knows that something must be done to prevent an all-out war. He takes Amy to talk to Leto, hoping to reason with him and make him understand the importance of using weapons only as a last resort. Leto is initially defensive, but as he listens to their arguments, he starts to see their point of view. Meanwhile, the pirate fleet is getting closer and closer. Leto approaches Ridget, the leader of Gargantia, and offers his help in exchange for being accepted aboard the fleet. He is given specific instructions to disable the pirate ships on the front lines without causing any casualties. Leto is a skilled fighter, and he executes his mission flawlessly. The pirates are caught off guard as their ships start to sink one after the other. But just as they think they have the upper hand, Luckage launches a sneak attack in her custom Yunboro, the surfing lobster. Leto knows he must act quickly to stop Luckage from causing any more damage, confronts her head-on, and engages her in battle. Despite Yumburo's agility, Leto is able to keep up with the machine and eventually overpower it. Luckage is defeated, and the pirates are forced to flee, leaving the Gargantia crew to cheer as Leto returns victorious. Amy runs up to him and he surprises her by saying, "Thank you," in the native language he learned from her. Despite successfully driving away the pirate threat that loomed over the ship, Leto is now asked to pay for all the damage caused during the attack. The bill is hefty and feels like a cruel joke to him. But Ridget assures him that he will be relieved of living expenses and the fee of having Chamber aboard for his help. Leto is grateful for the small reprieve, but still can't shake off the weight of the situation. As Chamber helps the other workers on the ship, Leto keeps himself busy by sculpting the Hideao's claw he always carries. Amy, who has been curious about Leto's behavior, finally musters up the courage to ask him about it. At first, Leto hesitates but then hands the claw over to her. After having a strange space thing, Amy decides to give the claw to her little brother Bebel, who is thrilled to receive it. To introduce Leto to Gargantia's wisest person, Amy takes him to meet Dr. Oldham, who explains to him that most of mankind's old technology is lost, making it impossible for them to help him return to space. As time passes, it begins to rain, and Leto jumps at the opportunity to help collect rainwater to replenish the ship's freshwater supply. After the rain, Amy takes Leto to meet Bebel, who asks him about his life in space and the object he was carving. Leto does not know of it, but upon realizing that it is actually a flute, Bebel plays it, helping him recall a long-forgotten memory that brings him to tears. The whole thing makes him wonder if he must learn more about their surroundings and the people of Gargantia. However, Chamber reminds him that he must leave it all behind when returning to his unit. Leto is torn, feeling a deep connection to this new world, but knowing that he must eventually move on. As the Gargantia stops for maintenance during a calm day, Leto finds himself at a loss for what to do. Chamber, his AI partner, and his only connection to his superiors remain on standby until contact can be reestablished. Despite his lack of direction, Leto refuses to sit idly by, hoping to find a job to occupy his time. In his frustration, Leto considers the possibility that he may never find a place in this new world he has found himself in. While he is contemplating his next move, Pinion invites Leto to lunch and offers him a position on his crew. However, Betlos, a member of his salvage team, also offers him a job at the same time, making it a difficult decision for Leto. After some consideration, Leto decides to join Bello's team, but not before getting caught up in a rather amusing misunderstanding. While Amy and her friends are dancing and having fun, Leto mistakes a cooked octopus for a Hideao's and almost shoots it until the others assure him that it is in fact food. Later that night, Amy and Leto spend some time alone, and the two begin to grow closer. The next day, Leto sets out to do some salvage work with Bellos. Initially, things go smoothly, but as they work, an underwater creature suddenly appears. Chamber identifies it as a Hideao's, and without hesitation, Leto abandons his work to confront the creature head-on. This action shows his fear for the Hideao's no matter what the cost may be. Bello's urgent pleas fall on deaf ears as Leto plunges his weapon into the sacred creature, a whale squid, causing a ripple of shock and dread to spread throughout the Gargantia community. Leto, however, seems unfazed as he orders Chamber to analyze a sample of the creature, his mind racing with questions about why it didn't attack humans on sight like the Hideao's always did. As Chamber delves deeper into the analysis, it becomes apparent that something unusual is going on between the two species. They seem to have learned to coexist in some way, much to Leto's confusion and frustration. But elsewhere, Pinion, a treasure hunter with a deep grudge against the whale squids, sees an opportunity in the creature's death. He plans to draft Leto to his crew and explore the uncharted whale squid territory to salvage its treasures. Bellows tries to dissuade Pinion, knowing the danger that lies ahead, but his warning falls on deaf ears as Pinion reveals his true motive, revenge for his deceased older brother, who was killed by the whale squids. Leto's resolve to exterminate them all only grows stronger as Chamber's analysis confirms their similarities to the dreaded Hideao's. As Leto prepares to face the creatures head-on, Amy and the others try to reason with him, but to no avail. Commander Fairlock orders all of the fleet's machinery and lights to be turned off, hoping to avoid any conflict with the approaching whale squids. Amy desperately tries to stop Leto from fighting, but he refuses to listen to her until Ridget points a gun at him. The whale squids pass under the Gargantia without incident, leaving everyone relieved but tense. Leto rejects Amy for not agreeing with his decision, and tensions rise as Pinion reveals his plan to secede from the Gargantia with flames by his side. Fairlock tries to stop them but suffers a heart attack, leaving the fate of the fleet in the hands of the divided community. As his health further decreases, Fairlock knows that his time is running out. He doesn't resist death but instead bravely nominates Ridget as his successor before he takes his last breath. Meanwhile, Chamber delivers some startling news to Leto. He's finally pinpointed the location of their civilization in space, but it's too far from their current location, which will take thousands of years for anyone to pick up their distress signal. It leaves Leto feeling conflicted, unsure of what to do next. As the Gargantua mourns Fairlock's passing, Pinion's plan to split from the fleet gains more support. Several dissident ships prepare themselves to leave, and even Melty decides to join them. Seiya approaches Amy and asks if she wants to leave with Leto, but Amy can't abandon her brother. Seeing how much his sister is suffering, Bebel tries to talk with Leto and reminds him that his desire to annihilate the whale squids comes from a place of wanting to protect Amy and himself from the Hideaus. However, Leto remains firm in his decision to leave, but it's clear that his heart is heavy. As the dissident ships begin to leave the Gargantia, Leto boards one of them, leaving behind a heartbroken Amy. Leto and Pinion's crew launch their assault on the whale squid nest, armed with a barrage of depth charges. The enemies put up a valiant fight, but the combined firepower of the human forces proves too much for them to handle. As they continue their search of the area, they come across an ancient facility, and Leto senses that there may be something important hidden within. Without hesitation, Leto begins to investigate the facility, and after a thorough search, he discovers a set of records that seem to have been kept secret by the Galactic Alliance of Humankind. Intrigued by what he has found, Leto attempts to access the files with the help of his trusty companion, Chamber. However, Chamber refuses to grant him access, citing the mysterious classification of the records. Despite Chamber's objections, Leto overrides his protocol as the highest-ranking soldier on Earth and gains access to the files. As he begins to read through them, he uncovers a shocking truth about the state of the Earth and its plans for survival in the face of an impending ice age. The records reveal that human civilization is slowly progressing towards its fifth ice age, and in response, a large organization of scientific researchers, known as the Evolvers, have drawn heavy controversy due to their movements all over the world. As global cooling continues to advance, interstellar travel becomes a high priority, and the Continental Union creates various space stations and immigration ships at an extremely fast rate. The survival of the population of Earth heavily depends on this development. As the war between the Continental Union and countries defending the Evolvers intensifies, more shocking information is leaked. The humans are given heavy genetic modification using symbionts, squid-like artificial life forms, to adapt to near-vacuum environments and other extremities of outer space, all as part of illegal experiments. At this point, the purpose of the war becomes clear. The Continental Union wants humans to colonize other planets, continuing to survive by eating and reproducing, while the Evolvers completely abandon human civilization. The Continental Union builds a giant portal just above the Earth's surface, which simultaneously self-destructs, stranding the Evolvers and some non-combatants on a frozen planet. Leto is in shock at this revelation, and in his despair, he shouts out as Chamber slays a Hideau's child without his permission. Back at the Gargantia, both Bebel and Amy show signs of how much they missed Leto. The gravity of the situation has left Leto feeling lost and alone, questioning everything he thought he knew about his place in the world. As the last Hideaus in the area fall, Pinion and his crew set to work salvaging ancient technology that has been unseen by mankind for centuries. They scour the ocean floor, working tirelessly to recover anything that might be of value. Finally, after weeks of hard work, they strike gold. The technology they've uncovered is beyond anything they could have imagined, and it's clear that it could revolutionize the way mankind lives. Instead of sharing their discovery with the rest of humanity, Pinion declares that they have the right to keep it to themselves. He sends out a message to the other fleets, warning them to stay out of their territory. The news of Pinion's discovery and his refusal to share it spreads quickly through the fleet. Meanwhile, Leto is still reeling from the revelations he has learned about the Hideaus. He has discovered that the light bulbs that mankind uses as a power source were actually created by the Hideaus, further proving the depth of their knowledge and technology. Leto begins to question whether there is any point in continuing to fight the Hideaus now that he has learned so much about them. But Chamber reminds him that the Galactic Alliance and the Hideaus are simply too different to coexist peacefully. One side has evolved and perfected its civilization, while the other has relinquished civilization altogether, which proves that their conflict is inevitable. As the Gargantia is trying to come to terms with Pinion's discovery and the implications it holds, a transmission arrives from a Galactic Alliance vessel. Leto is shocked to see that it is from Commander Kugel, whom he had thought dead. And when a massive fleet approaches them with Kugel's machine caliber atop it, Leto realizes that his old commander is not only alive but leading a powerful force. As Kugel contacts Leto, the urgency in his voice is palpable, which makes him instruct Leto to return to his side immediately. After reuniting, Leto notices that something is off with Kugel. He learns that Kugel is struck with some disease that prevents him from leaving his cockpit. Despite this, Kogel is determined to fight the Hideaus, just like the High Command of the Galactic Alliance. Hearing this, Leto remains shocked to learn that Kogel has been organizing a powerful fleet with a militaristic society whose intention is to rally all the humans on Earth under them. Pinion is summoned to Kogel's fleet, and to his surprise, he is taken there by Luckage, who is now working under Kogel. Pinion is approached by Kogel's machine-caliber Striker, who offers him a post as an engineer to develop weapons for the fleet. The rest of Leto's companions are also forced to join Kogel's fleet. It's a daunting prospect, and they are unsure of what their fate will be. After some time, Kogel discusses his plan with Leto, which is a large-scale operation that involves the destruction of the Gargantia fleet. Hearing this, Leto remains shocked and unsure of what to do, as Kogel's plan involves using the Gargantia fleet as bait to lure the Hideaus out of hiding. Leto is torn between his loyalty to Kogel and his newfound family on the Gargantia because he knows that this plan could mean certain death for many of them. While Leto is struggling with his decision, Pinion is working tirelessly to develop new weapons for Kogel's fleet. He knows that Luckage has been planning a rebellion against the fleet, but he's not sure how he feels about it. Suddenly, he's approached by Luckage himself, who urges him to join the cause. Pinion hesitates, unsure of the consequences of rebelling against their leaders. Meanwhile, Leto is at a loss for what to do, and he tries to convince Kogel to abandon his plan to attack the Gargantia, but to no avail. As he watches the people of the fleet throw their sick and weak overboard, he realizes that the same fate will soon befall his friend Bebel. Determined to stop Kogel, Leto decides to take matters into his own hands. But he's not alone in his efforts. Pinion, inspired by Leto's bravery, equips Chamber with extra weapons. Luckage and Flange make preparations for the impending uprising, while Melty is tasked with delivering a message to the Gargantia about Kogel's attack. Exhausted from her journey, Melty is rescued by Amy, who, after knowing everything, becomes determined to help Leto in any way she can. After being informed of Kogel's attack, the crew of the Gargantia faces a difficult decision. They have to abandon the fleet as Leto recommended, but Amy urges them to do something to help Leto. Also, Oldham suggests that Ridget make use of the special key that Fairlock entrusted to her. As the rebellion begins, Leto and Pinion's crew fight against Kogel and his soldiers. Luckage leads the pirates in an attack on the fleet and spreads chaos. But Leto remains focused, determined to stop Kogel. Leto and Kogel fight, but Striker is clearly the superior machine, as it easily overwhelms Chamber in speed and firepower. Pinion fires another shot from a cannon, giving Leto enough time to grab on to Striker and then maximize his generator and rams Striker into a tower. Leto opens the cockpit of Striker to find Kogel, who has been dead the entire time. Striker reactivates and flies off. Leto falls but is caught by Chamber, as they pursue Striker, who is revealed to be the one giving the orders the entire time. Striker turns with open cockpit and tells Leto that his resistance is without meaning. Striker claims that it was following Kogel's instructions after his death and eventually reached the conclusion that to ensure stability to the fleet, it was necessary for the humans to view it as their god. Both Leto and Chamber reject Striker's offer to join its side and decide to destroy it. While the three engage in a heated debate, Amy appears, telling Leto that he does not have to fight alone. Meanwhile, back at the Gargantia, Ridget uses a special key to activate an ancient mass driver stored inside the main ship, launching a barrage of attacks against the enemy fleet. After evacuating his crew aboard a salvage vessel, Pinion intends to destroy both the recovered relics and Striker's followers. But he is saved at the last second by Luckage, who convinces him to abandon his plan. Leto merges his nervous system with Chamber's interface, exponentially increasing Chamber's capabilities but risking his life. In the face of this danger, Leto knows what he must do. Despite having lived a life of sacrifice as a soldier, Leto's deepest desire is to survive and live with Amy. After a grueling battle, Chamber relieves Leto from his duty and ejects him to safety before destroying Striker in a suicide attack. Sometime later, Leto becomes an experienced excavator in the whale squid territory and is now in a loving relationship with Amy. While exploring the ocean, they discover whale squid larvae attached to Chamber, reminding them of the events that led them to this moment. As they continue their journey, Leto knows that the path ahead will be challenging, but with Amy by his side, he is ready to face whatever comes their way.